Hey Flames fans, welcome to another edition of Flames Unfiltered. We are your hosts, Kyle Lewis, and as always, Brad Burud. Brad, lay it on me. Where do we go with this ongoing mess of a team that we love so dearly?
You know, it's funny because when we looked at the season, I guess we both had higher hopes. Yours much higher than mine. But now that we've come to I don't know, what do you want to call it? A realization, I guess, a reality that where we're at, like,
yep. And there's no escaping it now. There's no turning this around.
Now I've kind of just accepted different things, and I'm kind of moving with different things. I'm still adjusting, still struggling watching some of the games. But we're gonna make it work because now we're not selling playoffs, we're selling hope, right? And that can be fun too, because it's something we really haven't had a lot of. Like,
it's not something we're really getting enough of right now either, wouldn't you say?
I've thought a lot about that, and I think timing is a factor.
I think this team has been very, very painful. I have a couple theories, and I'll run through them just quickly. There's part of me that honestly, with some of what I've seen, thinks like, okay, they've given up and are intentionally tanking, because some of these lineup choices, the shootout choices, just all these little things. It's like, man, they can't actually be this bad. The other thing I think, and this is much more likely, I believe, is that they just are so reluctant to accept the fact that they're a terrible, terrible hockey team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that plays a role. I think one of the struggles that they're having is, I think, upper management. Like, I don't even just going to blame upper management. I'm gonna blame the fan base in on this too. I think the Calgary organization and fan base has been, and myself included, when I say this, we get delusional on our own players.
Yep.
And
I think any fan base, really.
I don't think we're the only organization or the only fan base that does this, but this fan base has just a reluctancy to move on from players and a reluctancy to believe the reality of talent in some players. And I think we're seeing some of that struggles this year. And I'm not, and I also think we're fighting another battle with some of the lineup decisions, and why are we doing this, and why are we calling this guy up, and why are we, what is this bringing us, and we're trying now, when you have an organization that's struggling some, is it really, gosh, well, all we can sell is excitement now, right? Like the future.
Well, that's what we should be doing, yeah.
But what are we going to do to showcase that? We're not, because we really don't even have it yet.
I think we have more of it than we realize, and that, begs
Do you
the
think
question.
so, really? Like, and I would say, I would agree with you. I know you're going to probably say Gridden, and I know you're going to say Prstevich, but like, and I would agree completely on those two. But like, do we want them part of this right now?
I'd prefer those guys teared up in the AHL. I'm perfectly content with that. I'm talking more about the nonsensical, please make it make sense demotion of Rory Cairns after 2 games. Makes no sense.
Okay, and I'm not defending the up or down to that, because I think having him on the lineup is probably better than a lot of the other guys, a lot of them.
Well, if you look at the statistics of how much the Flames outchance their opponents with him on the ice, it's significant. So that stat alone should tell us the guy deserved a longer look, right?
And I did see those stats, and I don't know if that's just because of Rory Cairns, but it is a factor, right? It is totally a factor. I guess the only way I can like live with that decision is this. Is Rory Cairns truly a player that you see being part of the rebuild solution?
100%. And I'm going to tell you why. 100% why.
If this guy's on our team coming out of the rebuild, I don't think we're very good.
There's only one counterpoint, and it trumps any other point about this. And this is where I'm going to get a little bit fired up. I didn't plan on it.
Well, this is good. When we disagree, it's good.
You cannot assess players like this. That's not how hockey works. I don't care what level you're playing, what level you're watching. I don't care how many games you've coached, scouted, watched, whatever. I don't care. This is not the way that you evaluate talent. You do not recall a guy for 1 or 2 game stint and demote him constantly.
I would agree.
Constantly.
I would agree.
I don't think he projects to be a 70, 80 point scorer by any stretch. I think he could, with his talent level, maybe be a 40, 50 point third line, maybe second in a pinch type center winger. But we don't know. How the hell can we ever know? And this is where I take serious issue with it. I don't mind if he gets demoted to say, we kind of know what we have here. The Wranglers have a good team. Let's give them one more winning season down there. If it means recalling a guy like William Strumgren or somebody else, or eventually Gridden again. Although again, I'd rather he keep cooking in the AHL. Why do we keep going back to Dryden Hunt? And before you counterpoint me on this, which you certainly could, I understand that Hunt is a known commodity and that both teams are going on road trips and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't make sense.
I don't care. I mean, I saw the thought process of the road trip argument earlier that the Flames management gave us. I don't see it now because I don't think it matters now.
But this is the thing: is you gotta accept reality, right?
But is that the reason? Maybe though, Kyle. Is that the reason that it's all right, do we want Gridden to be part of this, or we don't care if Dryden Hunt's part of this and he's serviceable? So, all right. I'm starting to, I agree with you on 99% of this, especially Huska's lineup choices and stuff. But I'm starting to I'm trying to reverse psychology this. And I'm starting to think, okay, are they looking at this the opposite direction? Are they looking at it as, all right, everybody's right. We're finally going to buy into the mathematical capabilities of making the playoffs, and they're not going to happen. So are we better off showcasing our guys in the AHL and really letting them learn how to be pros for a year, because they are pretty young, and get a guy like Dryden Hunt, who, I don't know. I mean, we all know he's not part of the future, right? Can we agree there?
He's not part of anything. He's a career professional hockey player, which God bless him, because most of us aren't, who is a tweener and will always be a tweener. He's the guy who carries the 13 forward and I guess that's what they're doing by bringing up with Sam Morton. But I mean, even that part of his career is, people have passed him by significantly. So I
don't know. And, and I know we went back and forth on this all the time. And it doesn't really matter who's right or who's wrong, and probably we'll never know who's right or who's wrong. But I used to always be well, Jacob Pelletier is not jumping off the board here when he's up, and he got more than 2 games. I need to see more Rory Cairns. I can't even make a full evaluation, but I do look at him though, and I'm if he is a factor on our roster 3 years from now, I guess I would be surprised. But prove me wrong, right? Prove me wrong.
But even then, you have to evaluate them. Whether it is or isn't, I really don't care. Just the point is he keeps rotting in the AHL. You're never going to know.
Fair point.
And, as far as Jacob Pelletier goes, and just to touch on that example, he was very effective in terms of possession metrics and driving play, other than, coming back from injury here and there. And he just got recalled by the Lightning the other day. So he's another guy who, once again, we'll never, ever know what we have. And there's been lots of guys that we've given ample opportunity to, and I'll go way, way back here and say Martin St. Louis was getting 18 minutes of ice time his last season in Calgary and did nothing.
I know, but we can't predict the future. It's kind of like the argument where people are well, the Flames were stupid to get rid of Sam Bennett. Well, Sam Bennett wasn't worth a shit in Calgary. And I'm out. And let me finish my statement though, because was he played correctly? I would disagree. No. I would say no, he wasn't. He wasn't. But you know what? Do you agree with me though? That's sometimes, whether it's dumb luck or what, guys don't work in certain markets for various reasons, and then will work in another market, and then some guys would work in Calgary and not maybe in another market. I don't know how you get through that, right?
Well, ultimately, it comes down to the same philosophical flaw this organization continues to have: is they're terrible at integrating youth in a lineup in a meaningful, consistent way. They do it with guys like Coronado and Wolf, and they seem to be doing it with Kuznetsov, which is great.
Yeah, but what? And I wanted to talk about him. Kuznetsov comes in the lineup, and what was the best thing? Did you notice him?
No, of course not. It's not his game.
I didn't either. But isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yeah, I wish other guys would get a chance to do similar things, whether they stand out or not. Like I don't know. Like when I think about this, and we get talking about it, and I get really fired up because I think at the end of the day, like this organization doesn't understand how to properly evaluate and thereby integrate talent into their roster.
But how do we? And I agree. I don't think we're very good at drafting, and we can tell ourselves we are.
We're way better at drafting than we ever were. Probably the best we've ever been. But
how the hell can you get worse?
Well, that's part of it. But also when you draft well, that's kind of where it's been stopping for the Flames in a lot of respects. And there's all kinds of exceptions to the rule too. That's the nature of a draft. But I mean, there's a lot of guys that are not going anywhere with this team, right?
Yeah, no. Sadly, you're bang on with that. I sit though and I look, and I sit and I look at a guy like Connor Zary, and he was one of the key guys I really wanted to talk about today. It's just been awful. 1 goal, 1 assist, -4 in 18 games played.
Yes, and by his own admission, he's been awful. He talked about that the other day, actually.
Yep. I did hear that, and I thought that was, I thought he freaking, I don't even know the way to professional way to put this. I thought he manned up.
I don't think he has much choice.
I don't think he does either. I didn't like his actions on the ice the other night against, gosh, who did we play before Winnipeg? Columbus.
Sharks?
No, the Sharks. Yeah. Did you see him bang his stick down and throw a temper tantrum because Kuznetsov didn't pass him the puck? Freaking didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give him a pass because that's the only thing I've seen from him that I didn't like as far as attitude wise.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I mean, he's clearly very frustrated himself, and those opportunities, those like when nothing's going right, you tend to think far more than you should have of passes you didn't get or plays that weren't made to you or whatever, right?
Yep, and I also will side with the fan base in that, like plugging him in on the fourth line, that's surely not going to get him out of a funk, especially when he's with Lomberg. Like it's just not right placement, correct?
No, in a case like that, he's really just doing cardio. And this is not meant to disparage Lomberg or any other player in the team. It's just that it's such an ill-fitting role. And the hope now, and I think Ryan Pike had mentioned this, is that Morton may get a chance at the fourth line center role, which is kind of where we hoped he might pan out eventually, which would in theory mean that Zary either comes out or gets bumped up the lineup.
But my worries with Zary though can kind of go deeper though. I feel like his speed is like, it looks like half, and obviously it's not, but it looks like half of what it was pre-injury. And I'm starting to like worry, not about like, I'm not questioning Connor Zary's talent or his desire to want to do well. Mm-hmm. I'm questioning whether his body is fully recovered or is ever going to fully recover, because his skating is not the same. Am I seeing that wrong? I'd love you to tell me, yeah, I'm seeing it wrong. But he looks really slow. Really slow. And it's not because he's playing with Lomberg and Klapka, because I would even consider Klapka slow, or Lomberg slow, to be honest with you.
Well, he probably looks slower because he's just not doing anything, right? But he does look a step behind. Like, I will admit that he does actually look slower, but I do think his poor play plays into that. And I also don't know. His knee issues, which I hesitate to even call them that at this point in his career, and the injuries were not believed to be that significant. But I wonder maybe if it's more of a psychology thing,
And
two kind of freak accidents, and he's kind of very clearly, he's lost his confidence with and without the puck. And the best place for him now, in light of that unfortunate injury to Honzek, is that maybe he gets the Coleman and Backlund treatment for a bit to try and help him find his game.
But you know what? Kind of like, I was really that when Honzek got injured, and we can talk about that shortly here, but when he got injured, and then all of a sudden I'm watching that Backlund Coleman line, and I'm thinking, all right, well, someone needs to fill this spot. And then it was Huberdeau filling it, and Zary stayed on the fourth line. It completely tells you about the confidence the coaches have in him also.
Well, and I think one thing that we've kind of discovered, and this would be my argument, I'm curious for your thoughts on it as well, is I don't think that Ryan Huska is very good at putting players in positions to succeed, if I'm being completely honest.
His lines suck.
His lines suck, and I just want to touch on this because if we don't, I think we'd be remiss. the shootout against Winnipeg where he put Rasmus Andersson over almost any other option would have been better. That was actually worse to me than when Dennis Weidman played in St. Louis and like tripped himself on a shootout attempt and like went flying into the boards. It was embarrassing. Like Rasmus Andersson looked like he didn't even want to be playing hockey ever again in his life with that attempt. Every breakaway or shootout attempt I've ever had, and I'm terrible at hockey, has been better than what he tried to do on Connor Hellebuck.
I know. You look like he just went down and just shot it into his stick.
That was horrible. I'm like, what do you mean?
He just shot it right into his stick.
And that's the type of stuff between the coaching decision and the player's effort where I'm like, is this team actually trying to tank? And I know that sounds crazy when I say it, even, I hear my own voice, but I'm like, I don't understand how they can be this bad. But my point in all of this and what I'm trying to get at here is like, I really don't think Huska has any. I'm a little bit surprised because he seems to be doing right by Kuznetsov, as I'd said, but he doesn't seem to know how to get players out of slumps. I mean, the Sharon Govich thing, and the player has to own that too. I'm not trying to blame the coach solely for this. But this is a guy that scored 30 goals in the NHL and looks like he'll never score 10 again.
Oh,
that type of talent can't just disappear, can it? Like,
so let me get your take on this. You're a big wrestling guy, right?
I am. Although lately it's been terrible.
Okay, well, it's. I mean, and I'm not making fun of it for saying it's rigged. I mean, they knew who's going to win. It's entertainment, right?
Yeah. The only time that comment ever bothers me is when people like call it like fake, because the reality is the impact, the injuries are very, very real, but it's all predetermined, of course. Yeah. I just had to throw that in there.
The results are
all predetermined. Yeah. And it's storytelling for grown men, right?
So on Saturday, was it Friday? What day did we play San Jose? Thursday. Yeah. I'm listening to NHL radio during the day. I was off last Thursday and I was running errands and I was in my truck and I was listening to NHL radio. And they do a show in the afternoon, and I'll be damned if I can remember what it's called. I should. I listen to it all the time. I'm not even remember what it's called. But anyways, they were talking and they do a segment on there about like who to place your bets on that night, right? And I kind of chuckled to myself and I thought, well, we're going to go for the under on the Flames. That's the first thing I thought. But they were talking about the Sharks Flames betting line and how it had changed drastically Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
In favor, the Flames were favorited, and all of a sudden they became heavy favorites. And I don't know the exact number. And it during this hour-long show, it kept moving. The line kept moving. And the only way the line moves in Vegas like that is if people are betting money a lot on that. And I'm sitting there, and as I'm doing this, and I'm thinking, okay, why does everybody think Calgary's going to win this? Because they've only won 4 games or 5 games at this point. 4 games at this point. And I'm thinking the Sharks are one. I believe they had been rattled off 7 in a row. They weren't playing a back-to-back. Yes, it was on the road. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, young scoring talent on San Jose, no talent scoring-wise on the Flames. Why is the line changing? And sure shit, we watched the game on Thursday night, and its shots were 12-1 to start the game. And San Jose, like, literally was turning the puck over like every 30 seconds. It looked like my beer league team years ago.
Yeah.
What is going on?
It was, and I think a few people in X had pointed this out, but it was one of the worst efforts I've ever witnessed by an NHL hockey team.
It was one of the worst played games I've ever seen in NHL hockey, both teams.
Yeah.
It was god awful.
Which was why that's why I got so frustrated with the media trying to, play like the Flames had like a gutsy effort. Like, no, they didn't. They were terrible too.
They were horrible too. They only got 12 shots to their 1 because San Jose looked like they could have given 2 cares less that they were even on the ice. They were handing the puck over in the neutral zone. Right. It was atrocious.
Well, and I gave some bad advice to a customer of mine who likes to sports bet here and there, and I suggested I thought Celebrini would just carve the Flames up because
so did I.
Eklund, like they have some really good pieces in San Jose, and then I was dead wrong, and it was just a listless effort on their part. And so your point in terms of the wrestling analogy, I presume, is the belief that some of this stuff may actually be predetermined because it just doesn't even make sense.
I know it's not. But like I was just sitting there thinking, this is so bizarre.
I'm going to sound really high when I say this, and I swear to God I'm not. But have you ever stopped and thought that we think it's so crazy of a theory that any of this is fixed? that they're banking on us thinking it's crazy, it might actually be fixed. That's where my mind goes, right?
But then, you know, the thing is, if this is fixed, you know, Bettman would have had Arizona win a cup 6 years ago so the franchise could have stayed. It's not fixed.
Or was he trying to make everybody believe he's doing everything good to keep them there? You know what I mean? Like, you can always play devil's advocate in these weird situations, and none of it's logical, none of it's sensible. It's just hard to believe that a professional hockey team that achieved what the Flames did last year, even though they could have certainly regressed, but I mean, to regress this much and to be this listless and this talentless, and to see guys like, and Connor Zary isn't even generating much, hardly any good chances now, but has struggled to bury anything. Morgan Frost is just, he has less finish than I do, which is incredible to even utter. And these trends are not sustainable, but the fact they've gone on into almost December with how bad they've been.
Are they not sustainable?
Well, mathematically.
So let me tell you this.
Shouldn't
be. I'm not trying to pick on Connor Zary because I really think he's part of the picture for the long term, you know?
I hope so. I love the player.
I do too. But would you bet big money that this slump never goes away? I mean, I don't know. Like, I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to sound like a negative Flames fan, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think, let me put you this way. I think there's a better shot that Sharon Govich finds his game before Zary.
What do you base that on?
Can't even believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, what's your thinking or basis for that? And I'm not sure I disagree because at this point I don't know, but I'm just curious where you're coming from.
I used to see pop in Zary's game. I used to see pop. I used to see him win a battle in the corner and bolt out of that corner and make a play. Yep. Whether it be a great pass or something. And I'm not seeing anything positive. I'm not seeing no rushes, no corner battles. And I think he's trying hard. Here's what scares me the worst is I don't think it's because of lack of effort. Mm-hmm. Where Sharon Govich, to me, I see a player that doesn't care this year. And I'm talking effort too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what to, every player goes through struggles, but when the entire roster is permeated with guys that are struggling, I mean, it suggests obviously a much larger problem. And I think the problem, and you've, hats off to you because you've been saying this for a long, long time, and others have as well, but it's been a long, long line of yours, is I think a lot of it does tie into this country club type mentality. Like, David Pagnotta's, comment about, upsetting the tightness of the group. It's a horrible group of it's the worst team in hockey by a pretty wide margin at this point. Like, and I can't help but wonder if like their tightness and friendliness is something of an issue because they're not, we've seen Mackenzie Weegar, who's been utterly fantastic throughout most of his time in Calgary, have atrocious games. And it's like, okay, either we have a systemic issue with the way that this team is coached and deployed, which I do think there is some of that.
I do too.
But also the players are just seemingly absolving themselves of any responsibility, not intentionally, not consciously, but they're phoning it in night after night after night. And it's evident by metrics, the eye test, the special teams in particular. I don't even know if we should get into that because that could be an episode all its own if they're horrendous.
I do want to get into that, but I want to make one comment to what you just said because I agree. I mean, I've always preached the country club thing, but one of the things that probably bothers me more, and I mentioned it last year once, and I know I've mentioned it a couple times already on this year's episodes, is the fact that, and Eric Francis was talking about it again the other day, they were talking about Coleman and trading him, and they won't talk about trading him unless he requests a trade.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm starting to be like, why? What are we doing? Why do we care if Nazem Kadri doesn't want to get traded? Why do we care where Rasmus Anderson wants to go? Why do we care if Coleman wants to get traded? Like, it's time for this team to take on a little Vegas approach and be like, no, it's better for the organization to keep our mouth shut and move this guy. We're going to get the better return. But this team is always like, well, we got to make sure the people leaving are happy. I'm sure Hannafin's freaking laughing his ass off right now.
Well, I think
on the loser's end of this.
Yeah, it's
Like,
pretty brutal.
it's time to sit down as a management group, and maybe Craig Connery isn't the right choice. If he doesn't have the balls to trade a guy without making sure it's okay with him, Connery has a 13-team no trade. That means there's a lot of teams he can go to. Boom. Figure the best one out and make the move. We don't need to send him Christmas cards and check and make sure that it's okay with him.
I think the problem, and it's been made pretty clear, and this has been the case with numerous sports franchises, and it always will be because they're the ones signing the checks. There's just a lot of owner interference with the Flames. There's clearly a lot of it because I think Conroy's shown though that he can make really effective trades, but I get the impression increasingly that maybe, and I don't know, but maybe he's handcuffed by Murray Edwards.
And I don't know that.
And the Kadri thing certainly lends itself to that, right?
Okay. What trades has Conroy, Tkachuk came to him?
That was tree living. That was tree living.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Lindholm deal was a good deal. Really good deal.
That was a fantastic trade.
But Hanifin was a disaster. And you want to know why it was a disaster? Because they asked Hanifin.
Huh? Yeah, for sure. But and we can go point for point here because there's a lot of arguments to be made on the other side. The Markstrom Ball trade, I thought was a very good trade. I think Kevin Ball's.
I thought it was crap.
I had a hope.
Way wrong. I got way wrong. Right? I thought it was crap. When it happened at first, I'm like, Kevin Ball. Well, let me get my computer out to see who Kevin Ball is. Like I'd heard of him, but it was like, right?
Well, he had all the tools to be an effective NHL defenseman, which is exactly what he's become. But I think he's generally done better on the trade side than he doesn't
talk to the players.
Yeah, and I think maybe apart from some potential ownership interference that I just suggested, I think he may also be a little gun shy because I think he wants to believe that the market might heat up as we get closer to the deadline, and I think that maybe he's a little gun shy because of how he made out, for example, on the Hanifin trade. It's his first bad trade, but from what I recall.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a few bad signings.
Sure.
And you know what? In defense of him, like every GM makes bad trades and every GM
absolutely.
Makes bad. So
absolutely.
I'm not throwing him under the bus totally. I'm just saying that this year, if you want to see what dictates the success of this organization, and if Craig Connery gets re-signed, it's how he handles Kadri, Coleman, and Anderson over the next 3 months, 4 months.
Absolutely. That's going to say everything. And you know what?
I'm not saying we rush it. And I know you commented on it earlier. I'm not saying we go rush and do it right this second. You have to wait for the best thing. But the clock is ticking on Anderson. He's not getting any better. And Kadri's worth is as high as he's going to be. It's time to jump on this.
Yeah, I mean, especially in light of the injuries with the players in Montreal, Newhook, of course, being the most recent one. There's a lot of opportunity. The thing that I do see Kadri's value potentially going up because teams' needs will be more evident as we get into the stretch drive after Christmas, right? So,
yeah.
Ultimately, but to your point, how he handles those trades is exactly what's going to determine how we rate him as a GM because last year, it's become very clear based on performance this year that last season was the high water mark for this group, which was barely missing the playoffs. That's as good as this group is ever going to be.
Yep.
Because they can't be any other way. Because think about it.
They all overachieve.
Well, they overachieve, but all those players are now a year older, which means the younger ones are probably a bit better, but the older ones are not better. If we're lucky, they're still as good as they were. Coleman's having a bit of an up year. After scoring 32 years ago. Kadri's about as good as he was, maybe a little less so, and Huberdeau has redefined his game and done very well. But anyway, these pieces are not going to turn. They can't turn this team around. It's not actually possible.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reality of it. So this is why I and somebody that gets so frustrated by the failure to integrate youth into the lineup properly, because we already know what Dryden Hunt is. We know what these veterans are. We know they're going to be traded because they have to be.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see people turn. Oof.
Did you listen to Kadri on After Hours?
No, actually, I didn't. So please enlighten me.
I would recommend it. Like I like the way Eric Francis handled it. I mean, he kind of was like, he asked the question we all wanted to ask, and then Kadri looked at him like, "Did you seriously just ask me that?" And then Francis kind of backed up on it, but still got an answer from Kadri. Kadri never said in that interview that he wants to stay in Calgary.
I don't know that
He didn't say he wanted to leave, but he surely didn't say he wanted to stay.
I don't think he's in a position to say that he wants to stay. I think he's in a position to say he loves Calgary.
He said that.
Yeah, but
how? But I got the oh gosh, and and this is so like reading between the lines. Like seriously, like I'm trying to read what he's thinking. Like that's real. I'm real accurate on that. But I'm just saying, like, if he did not want to even explore the chance of getting moved, he'd have been like, no, I signed in Calgary to stay in Calgary, and I want to stay in Calgary. And the only way I will leave Calgary is if they force me by trade.
I can't imagine. Like, you know what that would do to the fan base and the local media if he said that?
I know, but I think
he's being smart. You can't say that right now. You're playing subpar. Your team is dog shit. The best thing you can do in that situation is say nothing at all.
And that's pretty much what he did. And I'm not saying that he was wrong. I'm just saying that if he didn't want to leave, he could just say, no, I want to be a Calgary Flame. That doesn't mean that they won't trade him. It just means that.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much vitriol around this team that I think you have to be very calculated. And I wouldn't want to hear that from him, because even though I understand what you're saying and I agree, yeah, I love being a Calgary Flame. My plan, my hope is to stay here.
I don't want to. I agree. I don't want to hear that either. If the management was like, okay, well, we won't trade you. But if Kadri doesn't want to get traded and but it's going to help our organization, like, I'm sorry, I don't really care what Kadri wants.
Yep. You know what? And here's the other thing you got to look at. And I'm going to allude to a situation I'm currently contending with in my own workplaces. We've got a very important piece, my direct superior, who's retiring.
Yep.
And I've said, and many have agreed and said it themselves, that his departure, it sucks. It does create a major gap, but it also creates significant opportunity. And I think that this person, apart from their personal reasons for choosing to, retire, also recognizes he thinks he's taking. He actually told me he can do a coaching change. He said, I think I've, as much as I can with this group, you guys need a new voice. Mm-hmm. And inevitably, when you let go of something like that or a change happens, good things will eventually come from that. And if we hang on to any of these players we've discussed, and we both know that neither one of us want to, we know that we can't for the future of the team, but the way that this gets handled is extremely important to the future of the team, which I know is super obvious to anybody who's watched a period of Flames hockey this year. But I respect Kadri for what you've just told me about trying to kind of stay neutral. But I mean, the team is horrible, and it's got to be blowing up. It has to be.
I told you last episode when we were talking with our friends from the Red Mile Red Mile Rundown. It's the Cotter thing still worries me. It worries me. I hate it, but it worries me. Like, I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it.
I don't know how Craig Conroy or even Don Maloney or anybody in the organization could stand by a decision that doesn't involve trading him.
I know, but I know.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because the thing is, I mean, I don't know that there's a more inept franchise than the Flames in terms of what have we've gone past the second round once in the last. Yeah, might have said past the second round once in the last 32 years or something like that.
Yeah,
it's so astronomical. I almost chose not to commit it to memory because it's embarrassing. Yeah, it's and I mean, there's a ton of parity. There's a ton of hot markets players want to be in. There's a lot of teams. Like, there's lots of reasons to not be a juggernaut. But man, like, this is a tough go. And I was trying to a buddy of mine, Chris, who's trying to get into hockey more and support the Flames. He's been texting me, and he was over here earlier. He's like, man, this team is horrible. I said, I know, but he's a big Baltimore Orioles fan. I'm like, you went through this too.
He's primed, and the Orioles sucked for years, so he should be good at this.
Yeah, you got to trust the process so long as your management follows that process. And right as of this minute, they're not doing that, and that's where all the concerns coming from.
I got to get your take and on this Sam Honzek injury. Your thoughts?
Well, and zigged when he should have zagged, or Backlund zigged when he should have zagged. It's extremely unfortunate. The
people bashing Backlund. I mean, come on.
I didn't see much of that, maybe because I chose to ignore it. But ultimately, there was a few comments.
It's on Sam Honzek. You put yourself offside to save your body. It's an offsides. It's a whistle.
Oh, I think it's just unfortunate all around. I mean,
I know what he was trying to do. I know what he's trying to do. He's like, I'm trying to do the best I can with everything, and I'm hanging on and hoping it. I just feel bad for him. But I worry because if this is a head injury, which I think we all suspect it is, pretty significant one last year and a pretty significant one this year.
Yeah, I mean, that type of stuff is always scary. I mean, to say nothing of numerous other incidents. Chris Tanev in Toronto right now, a really scary situation with him.
Yeah.
Even watching Chris Pronger be, pretty prominent in the broadcast community now and thinking about how his career ended. But as far as Honzek goes, I saw a few comments. I think actually our buddy Robert was one of them who said he felt Honzek was maybe on the verge of starting to break out offensively, and I hope that he's right about that. But I also can't help but feel that nobody is going to break out offensively on this team. But I mean, at the end of the day, he looked like an NHL player. He was one of the few guys I was excited to watch play on this otherwise abysmal team. And hopefully it's a shorter thing than a longer thing in terms of his absence.
Here is the X factor though, and it does touch on this, and it's from John Engstrom. And thank you, John. Kyle sent this to me, and he felt pretty adamant about this one. And it says, I feel the hockey gods really want the Flames to pick in the top 3 this year, as nothing can possibly go right for this team nearing the quarter mark of the season. Of course, we lose Sam Honzek due to a bonehead play by Backlund. Then Huska ices the shittiest shootout lineup. And, it does sum it up totally. I'm throw some kickback on the Backlund thing. I think that's a little far-fetched. And
it's a bit of a coin toss. But I think, that when he tweeted this was all pretty fresh too. But what I liked about this X Factor, and thanks, John, for that. What I liked about it is that I felt the tone of it and the content of it perfectly encapsulated how awful this season has been. Because even last year, and we droned on about the losses in St. Louis and some of the low points. It was exciting. I remember week to week, like, we're in it, we're out of it, we're in it, we're out of it, we're right there. We don't have any of that, which again is why, you're either, how's that saying go? You're either selling wins or you're selling hope. And we've been referencing that more and more. We're certainly not selling any wins. And we're not selling nearly enough hope at this point. So,
what are we selling, Kyle?
Our YouTube listeners or watchers just, looking at the two of us rubbing our heads. And, it's going to be a really pivotal season in terms of where this team goes. And again,
we're selling bottom 6 forwards and mediocrity.
You sounded so disgusted when you said that. It was almost poetic.
I'm so sick of not having any. Okay, I hate losing more than anything. And I was so adamant and said to everybody, I am not on Team Tank. But this team's not tanking. They're this bad. We might as well get a top-end talent because of this. Please, please, don't go on a run here. And I'm not cheering for losses because that sucks. It's no fun watching that. But good grief, this is our best chance at top-end talent. You guys, if we don't capitalize and get somebody good, we're going to sit for another how long, wishing and praying that someone would fall into our lap.
Well, and I mean, the other thing, we talked about this in the last show with our buddies there from the Red Mile Rundown. It's you watch guys like Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, and even still McDavid to this point in his career. It's like these guys just are so electrifying, and that's just the way that hockey is. I mean, you got to have a few of those pieces that are just electric, and we don't have any of that, right? So,
who is our most electric player? Nazem Kadri.
Which is pretty concerning given his age, but he's a fantastic player.
Who's even close? I can't even say Coronado right now. He's been really good lately. Really good lately.
Oh, Coronado is a pure sniper, though, right? Which is a different sort of player. Somebody who every now and then can go end to end and on a beautiful rush and bury a goal or make an incredible pass. We don't have anybody like that in our forward ranks. We might eventually with some of the players that we've drafted, but it's been proven time and time again. You have to have that super high end talent. The Jack Eichels, the Connor McDavids, the Sidney Crosbys, even the Malkins, the Ovechkins. You got to have a guy that's an absolute game breaker. Austin Matthews, I think you can include in that group. And hey, I listen. I can make a pretty long list, but the reality is there's still guys that can score and score and score and do it in different kinds of ways, and we don't have that, right?
You know what I really wish we would have done, and I pushed for it last year. I always said, remember when the talk of Shane Pinto was out there, and
I thought of you when he signed his extension in Ottawa last week.
Have you watched him play?
Yeah,
this guy's everything we need. Everything we need.
Well, he outscored. He might still, yeah, probably not now, but he was outscoring the entire Flames roster. So
remember when I would throw out numbers in the previous episodes, and you were like, I made you want to puke with our statistics, you know? Yeah. I vowed today not to do it, but I'm going to throw one, and you mentioned it earlier. Our power play, 3.2% at home, worst in NHL history.
Yep. And it's not going to get better with guys like Rasmus Andersson on it. I don't understand why you'd be better off having a forward on the point than him.
Is our return for Rasmus? I mean, there was rumors floating everywhere about Toronto this week and Rasmus Andersson and whatnot. And will the Flames trade with Treliving because of what he did? And da 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 da. What would we get for Rasmus Andersson? I'm sorry, I don't think the return is going to be very big.
The Leafs are in man, this is tough, unenviable position right now. I committed to the word. I had to get it out. And the reason is, of course, is that they're treading water in terms of playoff spot. I think they're a game below 500 at the time of this recording. Yeah. They lost a significant talent in Mitch Marner, and no disrespect to Nicholas Roy, but he's not on that level. And they lost Chris Tanev. Their goaltending is, spotty, I feel. But now they're in a spot where they have no assets to trade to get better immediately. And they have, they're committed in too many contracts to really, I mean, the hope for them, I guess, is to sneak into a playoff spot and have a goaltender get hot, which could absolutely happen. But to your point, the Leafs don't have anything of interest to the Flames in an Andersson trade. I don't think either of us think. And that's been said by many, many others.
I didn't think so. I saw names floating around the internet. Easton Cowan, don't think that Toronto would do that.
Not a chance.
But you know what? The only way I sit and I think about that, though, Treliving knows that if he can't make a go this year, his ass is gone.
Probably. So what does he have to lose? Well, his job.
He's gonna, but if he doesn't win, okay, he somehow could work out a deal and get Kadri and Andersson, and they can take a step.
Sure. Well, you get that bump when you get traded too, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's sitting in his office going, well, if I don't do anything, we may keep stumbling and I got to wish and pray for a miracle. Or maybe if I go do this and it backfires, I get fired. But if we don't do anything, I get fired anyways.
Yeah.
Let's be silly. I don't know. Like, we can always pray, but
I much prefer the idea of a trade with Dallas. For the reasons we both just outlined, just the quality return. But I mean, yeah, to your point, I mean, Treliving might get desperate and try to change the fortunes of his team. That's his job right up until the day he doesn't have that job anymore, potentially. Same as any other GM. And Conroy could be in that lineup too. He doesn't have a contract beyond this season. That's been, lots been said about that. And actually, Robert Munich wrote a great article about it on Flames Nation that I would encourage others to read. And we're a few months away from really knowing much about how this may play out, I feel.
You're not expecting any moves anytime soon?
I'd like there to be, but no, I think this is going to drag into the new year.
I do too.
I really do. I don't, this is where I struggle because I want young guys in the lineup to get experience. But I think Conroy really wants to, try to drive these guys' values up by hanging on to them. Like, I think Coleman's going to be one of the best returns we'll get because he's such a versatile forward, right? And how cool would it be to see him get traded to Dallas, and have a run at the cup with basically his hometown team?
Yeah, be awesome.
And that's the thing, and I want to be clear about this too, because we talk so much about how these guys are all struggling, but ultimately, I do enjoy when guys get traded and seeing how they do elsewhere and wishing them the best and success. And I want to see Kadri have another run at the cup. I want to see Coleman have a run at the cup. I'd like to see Backlund move too.
Everything that I don't want to see Backlund moved. I think you got to.
I would struggle with that emotionally, but I mean, if it's a windfall trade, you got to make it happen.
I'm gonna push back on Backlund and the Uyghur, even though I'm not really impressed with Uyghur's play lately. But I do think you need to have a veteran on the back end, and I think you need to have one or two veterans on the front end. The guys that I mean, I'd be open to sharing Govich talks. I know Darren Drager mentioned this week that teams may be willing to take a chance on him. I don't see it. I don't think
need some salary, maybe.
You know, I mean, I don't know why would we keep Lomberg through the end of the year? I don't know what we'd get, but if I got a 7th rounder, like, okay.
No, I think for a playoff run, you can get like a 4th, you know. But I mean, the market's the market. It changes all the time, and
the guys, I don't know though. But I mean, I think you need to have a Huberdeau and a Backlund and to lead this team. And I don't know, but I'd hate to see Coleman go. But gosh, I'd wish that guy everything. That guy's been great. He's been a great Flame. One
of the best contracts the Flames ever signed. Yeah, I really believe that. Yeah.
And don't
pound for pound, dollar for dollar, unbelievable.
It was one that we didn't see coming either.
Well, we knew he was a damn good two-way forward. We didn't think he was ever going to score 30 for us. Right?
Well, we didn't think he'd pick Calgary either.
Nope. But he was a big part of one of the best playoff runs we've had, even though it resulted in a 2nd round exit. Best one I was ever a part of, anyway. I mean, in terms of actually being there live in attendance.
All right, Flames fans, this week, Calgary heads to Chicago on Tuesday, Buffalo on Wednesday for a beautiful back-to-back. Saturday, Dallas comes to the Dome, and then the Flames Sunday, another back-to-back. They're up in Vancouver on a Sunday night battle. So, busy week for the Flames.
Yeah, we'll see some more Devin Cooley, who I think is, well, we all can say he leads the NHL in some pretty key goaltending categories in a very small sample size, but we'll be seeing more of him, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty damn impressed with both of our goalies, and I like what I see there. So there's a bright spot. We're going to end it with a positive thing.
That's it. That's all I got to say, other than have a great week, everybody, and we'll talk with you soon.
All right, Flames. We're back again next week talking Flames hockey. And, take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.